Chase Young today from the Washington Commanders, trading away a third-round pick, one of their compensatory picks. Not even a big deal.
I'm pretty sure it was their own pick.
Maybe it's they get a compensatory pick back if they only use him as a rental this year. That's probably it. Which is a really good situation. But how do you feel about the Chase Young trade? How did you feel when you first heard about it?
That it's good because their pass rush sucks right now. Like, there's no other way to sugarcoat it. It's bad. No matter what they do, whether they just let their defensive line do their own thing or just try to do too many stunts or twists or whatever else the terminology says, nothing's working. It's not working. So you needed help. Randy Gregory was initially that help, which was cool. You saw a flash, but it's not enough. He's not a dominant force. Chase Young can be that dominant force. Now, same thing with Randy Gregory. Just health is matter, and is he actually like building himself up to be a strong pass rusher? I read that like something about like, oh, there wasn't too much of a hot market for Young, but it's like, well, yeah, if the concerns about him are long-term health-wise, his knee, and can he actually sustain this level, then yeah, that pretty much cuts like 70% of the league, right? Because only like 30% of the teams are actually in the playoffs, and half the playoff teams don't really need like a pass rusher to that degree like the 49ers do. The 49ers definitely do, which is crazy considering like how much players they have there. But no, this trade, like,
that's where all their resources have gone.
And it's like, wow, you guys can't generate anything, but it's always Steve Wilkes' fault just solely, which is stupid to me, but I digress. Anyways, I'd say also like this trade draws significant parallels to me back to 2019 about Emmanuel Sanders. It's like you get a player, you get a rental player who's on the last year of his deal, at a position of need, and you get him for a third-round pick. So it's like, well, and it's at the midway season. I know it's different 2019, 2020, because that point in the midway, you were undefeated, you were surging, where it's now you're on a downfall, but this is still like pretty much almost the same thing, aside from the veteran leadership. And plus, you got to think about it. What did Emmanuel Sanders do other than the veteran leadership and giving himself to be a productive player? He helped free up Deebo Samuel, Kendrick Bourne, George Kittle Moore, and just a plethora of facets on that offense. Young should be that same way too. Now all of a sudden, maybe Bosa works better. Eric Armstead, Javon Hargrave. Maybe if they get Randy Gregory on the same line somehow, they do the same thing. So everything in theory should free up and then also help out the secondary too. Because that's one thing about the 49ers. That's one thing why I wasn't too into getting a corner. It's like, yeah, they could use help, but that's like 80% of the league who needs help. Besides, like, who else has one good corner or more than one good corner? At least with pass rush, the 49ers have done in the last 5 years, right, is we dominate on the front. That it makes our secondary, which is no better than average, look better, because it's not like they've had valiant corners throughout their year at all either. So this all should be hopefully a top to bottom help on the defense, and hopefully it's something that actually sparks them coming out of the bye.
Okay, so this is kind of interesting because I feel like my question was, does adding Chase Young like solve the defensive problems? And I feel like you're making the argument for yes, but I was kind of making, when I was thinking about it by myself,
not all of the problems, but it definitely helps. It helps significantly,
I'd say. I feel like because I really wanted the 49ers to trade for like Jalen Johnson or something, who I know ended up staying. So maybe a lot of that was like hype, or I heard he wanted to be paid like a top 5.
Yeah, he's looking for an extension. That's something the 49ers don't need. They need someone just for this year.
But my thing is, I feel like with Steve Wilkes right now, he's like kind of showing a lack of trust in his secondary, and the fact that they can't cover very long, I feel like, is why the pass rush isn't getting home, because the 49ers are getting tons of pressure. So it's not like the edge rushers aren't getting there. They're just not able to finish because the quarterback's able to get the ball out in time. So I kind of thought that it would have been more intelligent to try to work out like a cornerback deal. But you're saying that maybe with Chase Young, who currently has 5 sacks in 7 games this year, so maybe he'll be like more effective at finishing, or like you said, take away some of that pressure from Nick Bosa and then maybe allow him to get freed up. But I still think there's some like internal house issues that are going on. But you think that the Chase Young thing will solve a bit of that?
Yeah, definitely would agree. I believe in that, because I think it's always you build in the trenches, right? And that's one side of the ball that the 49ers have always been consistent of. It's barely like the first time that we've seen since 2018, where it's like, why is the defensive front like stink right now? Why is it bad?
Yeah.
So now you have Chase Young, and if he can actually sustain where he's at, if not maybe even improve, which might be more too hopeful, too idealistic, but still, I'm comparing and contrasting. Like, this might be like the best one since 2019. Now all of a sudden, you got a great edge rusher that hopefully can free up the inside more, and then maybe if you can stack each other on the same side, Because remember, the Chase Young and Nick Bosa, not like it was for many years, but they did play with each other. So there's a bit of familiarity. I know it's old too, so I don't know how much that's actually going to carry weight. That's already like 5 years old by now. But it's still, to me, you get an impactful guy, and it can just help everything else so much. Because you mentioned pressures, yeah, that they are getting there, and they're doing a decent job of it. But it's like, how many of those pressures are actually like really forcing the quarterback into an errant ways? And if they're getting pressure, then it's like, okay, if they're getting pressure there at 2.5 seconds, which I think the defense of the 49ers, their quarterbacks are having 2.7 seconds, then it's like, okay, if quarterbacks are averaging 2.7 seconds or something like that, then that's kind of a lot of time. So great, the pressures are there, but it's like you're still taking too long. It's not enough. There just has to be something. Because this move pretty much tells me, number one, Drake Jackson stinks. Number two, Randy Gregory isn't enough. We just ultimately need someone that can help everything in the defense. Number three, we're kind of out of options of what to figure out defensive scheme-wise. Because, what are you going to do? Fire Steve Wilkes? No. I mean, sure, he's had 2 bad games. But I mean, what's going to be the solving? Firing him and have someone else? I've seen Marco talk about the DB coach, I think, the safeties coach, bring him up, and it's like, yeah, but how much is that really going to solve? It's just like, because for instance, it's really not just Wilkes. He's taking too much blame. Like, yes, of course he should be in the crosshairs and getting lit up, but what about the players missing tackles? What about the players registering penalties? Some of these guys not holding up consistently against the run, and it's like it's just everything.
But don't you think some of that does go to the coaching? Like when I saw Ward like made a business decision. Ward like made, we're going to get to this, like the team's identity, because I feel like that's an interesting topic. But I saw Ward on Sunday make a business decision. Like Joe Burrow was like running and he was right there. Like there was no way that Ward could not have tackled him. And he like puts his hand out and then died to
just try to like take like a little swipe at the ball. Not even punch, just a swipe.
I don't understand. And I feel like that has to, like at some point that has to reflect on the coaching. Same thing with the penalties. Like when the offensive line is having false starts and committing, needing to take timeouts right after a 2-minute drill, like my immediate criticism is less on the players and more on Kyle Shanahan. So I feel the same way about the defense. Like this 49ers defense, like their philosophy has been to be like all out physical 110%. If all of a sudden they're like shy, which is never, soft and tired.
The reason why Kyle gets those blames for those penalties is because it's a personnel decision. He's the one that put that player and trusted that player in the first place. On the field wise, it's like Cole McKivitz, like my guy's getting penalties. It's like, yeah, it's on him too, but it's like Kyle chose to go with him. Defensive wise, then it's not. I wouldn't even blame Wilkes for that. It's like, dude, why is Ward doing all these things? Like these guys weren't doing it before, and they're trying to say, oh, it's not him. It's like at some point, it's like, great. He's the defensive coordinator. He calls the plays. He's not the one that's supposed to be like holding them accountable. That's supposed to be Kyle Shanahan. So if anything, that should be blamed more towards Kyle Shanahan. But we've seen these players. They know what it is. They know what it gets done. So because they don't have a coordinator they like, they start mailing it in. That's a player problem then. That's their issue. Come on, man. You guys are getting paid $1 million. Figure it out. You don't need mommy and daddy to come hold your freaking hand on the field. Step it up. Stop being a little baby and just do your job. So, I mean, that's definitely why I just don't think it's the reason. Let's be real. The reason why Wilkes is getting blamed the most is number one, he's on the sideline. Number two, what's the major change in the defense? It's from defensive coordinator. So now everything is like, okay, well, that's a big major change, but there was always going to be a drop off from D'Amico Ryans, no matter who they found, even if it was Vic Fangio.
Yeah, really quick. Mr. Blue Magic says, not preach, whoops. He said, does Chase Young help the run defense?
I don't know about that. I don't know about that. It's because I don't really watch. I haven't watched him against the run defense, but to me, it's like,
come on, you're letting him down. He just said you're on it.
I'm not gonna lie. I don't know about that, but and it's not like I've watched more than like 2 or 3 Commanders games. I watched both Eagles games, that abysmal Giants game. Actually, I think I watched more than that. What am I doing? God, I'm an addict to football. But anyways, run defense, I don't know. But even then, like expecting him, because that's more. I'm looking more for passing, because that's ultimately what is the issue here, right? The coverage, everyone. Yeah. So that's the more impactful thing. If you could stop the pass, then the run, you can probably hopefully figure it out yourself with like alignments, or just, I don't know. That's something that they have to really figure out and tighten more meshing. I don't know if it's with alignments or what they're telling the players of what the reads or what the technique. I don't know about too much about that, but at least with Young, passing game, which I saw Kirk Cousins blow up for, and Joe Burrow go 21 straight completions with only 4 completions.
I'm sick and tired of that. I'm sick and tired of watching the game and hearing the announcers being like, this team that hasn't been able to run the ball just broke their record. This quarterback that sucked this year just broke
That's
his
why I don't care
completion
too much
record.
about the run defense. Like, yeah, it's a problem, but the pass game is much of a problem, and that's pretty much the name of the game now.
Yeah.